Your decision to hold a press conference in July 2016 about the Hillary Clinton server provided really great insight. I remember thinking it was great television, but great insight into a prosecutor's decision-making. It also disappointed many Justice Department officials, alumni, people who think of you well, because you did not follow the rule that a prosecutor only speaks, the general rule that a prosecutor only speaks to their charges. You explained Clinton had been extremely careless, but would not be charged for her use of this email system. Why did you decide to hold that press conference? What was the single most important reason?
Because the credibility of the institution turned upon the American people having confidence that the work was done independently and competently, and that the best way, not the only way, the best way to maintain that credibility would be with transparency, which is, you said, I agree with you totally. The normal rule is you don't talk on an investigation that closes without charges, except when the interests of justice require it, which the Department of Justice has long done when it really matters. Ferguson, it really mattered to explain why there was no case there against the officer who had killed Michael Brown. The Tea Party targeting, alleged targeting by the IRS, it really mattered to assure people with great detail of why there was no case there. And to my mind, this was that kind of case. What made this different is not that, because I think the announcement itself is contemplated by the policy. It's that I'd never heard of the FBI director doing it separate from the Attorney General. And that was the other big consideration, is that the normal in that situation would have been the Attorney General making the announcement I made. And for reasons that I've talked about a lot, and people may be sick of hearing, I thought it really important to try to protect the institution by separating from the Attorney General.
And on that, I know your point, for those who haven't, I mean, I'm not bored by it, by the way, at all, but Loretta Lynch, had this tarmac meeting with President Clinton, which you can see that President Clinton, initiated, but she received, and that created for you the perception that this could be tainted. Did you ever, I think your answer to this is no, did you ever confront or alert Loretta Lynch to your concern about this perception about her meeting?
No. Before I even saw her, as this controversy started to explode that last week of June, she made a public announcement that surprised me, saying that she would not step aside, but would accept my recommendation and that of the career prosecutors. And so it was at that point I thought, I love her, I've known her a long time, I've got to step away from her if the American people are going to believe that this was done as it was, in an independent way, in a competent way. So at that point, it didn't make any sense. She's made a public announcement, I'm not going to step aside. I don't know what good it would do at that point to go to my boss and say, you've stuck me here.
Do you think, in hindsight, you wished you'd talked to her at all?
That's a great question. I think in hindsight, it's probably too late. I wish we'd had an opportunity to talk before she announced she was not going to recuse herself, because we might have lived a different future if she had stepped out and Sally Yates, who I also had a great relationship with, had become the acting Attorney General, because I could imagine myself standing next to Sally and having Sally make the announcement. I don't think any of that would make a difference for any of us in terms of what happened in October. We were going to get stuck because of Anthony Weiner in October regardless, but it might have played out differently in terms of how we announced it if I'd had a chance to really sit down with her before she said I wouldn't recuse herself. She won't recuse herself.
This